Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is Book Challenge Chats, or Reading Challenge Chats. I always get kind of confused because it could be anything. But as always, I appreciate you guys checking out the videos, especially those of you checking out the Owls Do Cry video. That's just amazing to me how many views it's gotten, especially over just the last few days. So, hopefully you guys enjoy it, and if you do, press the like button, and then, subscribe, because it helps me know, that you're interested in seeing more videos, more book videos, and then press the notification button. That way you'll know when the videos pop up, so that way you'll know, hey, I can go check these out. So with that being said, we're going to go now into book number 7 of the year, Janet Frame again, Intensive Care. And this one is much different from, I would say, any of the other books that she has written, at least that I have read. And it plays sort of like a sci-fi kind of novel in a sense. Or at least I guess maybe her version of sci-fi, where, the world is looking at making a population of people who have no genetic predispositions. That this comes a little later in the book, but kind of, I don't want to say a pure race of people, because they're not going to they're not taking out like a whole slew of like one race or one gender. It's really looking at, people who don't fit like an intelligent quota kind of test, an IQ test. The book starts off with one character who was in the army. He fought in a war. And then it picks up with his brother. And then from there, the last, I would say probably 2/3 of the book is the diary of a character named Millie. So I'm spending the most time on Millie because, one, she represents, I think, Janet Frame's theme of, mental health. And Millie is considered to be autistic, which when this book was written, back in 1970, it was published. I don't know how much about autism was known then, but she makes Millie an autistic. And so in her journal, we have all like the misspellings of what she might, we know what the words are. They're not spelled correctly, as if, we're actually reading her journal, her diary. And it's basically leading up to the time that, the time the journal starts from, I think about 50 years after the brother of the first character dies. And there's this tree that is sort of the symbol of everything for Millie. It represents the past, it represents the good for her, and she always finds solace under that tree, which is cool, but it's very sheltered in a sense. But anyway, her journal covers up to the time when the Judgment Day would be, which is also her birthday, fittingly enough. And that Judgment Day, that day that is when or Selection Day, I think it's called. But it's when they have all the numbers and figures crunched, and they know who has passed the test and who hasn't. And they basically select those people, and they basically move them out. They take them out of civilization. It doesn't necessarily say that they're going to kill them. So I don't think that's not part of it. It's just removing them from society and giving them sort of their own, their own bit of land to where they just, maybe die off on their own, sort of like, what the British did with Australia. Let's take the prisoners and the undesirables, and let's, ship them off over to this continent and remove them from our society. It's almost the same principle here. The problem with this book, though, is that the journal lags on for a while because the book is 342 pages. And like I said, the last 2/3 of it, so probably close to 200 pages or so, is the journal of Millie. And really, it's what's interesting is it's the guy who created the test. He's reading Millie's journal, so we're not really in his thoughts, but we're in his head with him reading the journal. After the journal, he kind of gives his opinion on what he thinks, whether Millie or not really should stay in the society or whether she should be one of those removed from society. And then we find out what happens to him and everybody else kind of in that area. So, it's a good book. It's an interesting book. Like I said, it's more for Janet Frame. This I would say would be more of a sci-fi novel, really, for her. On Goodreads, I gave it 4.5 stars. I mean, obviously you can't do halves, so I gave it 4, but put 4.5. Just because I liked the concept, just the journal, just was really. I think it could have been a little more quicker. I don't think she needed to be as long with it. I mean, I know she was trying to do the build up and trying to get us to, to come to know Millie and feel her sympathy, her plight, that kind of stuff. But it takes a while, and after a while you're just kind of like, okay, do I really want to keep reading it? But then at least in my case, I knew I did because I wanted to see what happened. Once I start a book, I mean, once I start a book, I don't put it in a do not finish section. That just doesn't exist for me. I will slug through it no matter what. Like last year, I read a Marquis de Sade book that was like 700 and some pages, and though I disagreed with most of it and some of it was kind of nauseating, I finished it. Didn't give it a great review, high stars. You can go on to Goodreads and under my name and check it out. It's there. But I finished it just because I don't do a do not finish. That I can't. Once I start something, I have to finish it. So 4.5 stars for intensive care. I would say I would recommend it, but again, as I said, I think in the past video that I would look at Owls Do Cry or Faces in the Water as probably the first ones to read, just because those to me are the heavy hitters. Those are the ones that, those, like Owls Do Cry, for those of you, and I know many of you who have at least watched part of it. That's more of a semi-autobiographical account of her childhood. There are a lot of things that are in that book that end up in her autobiography, which we'll be doing a review of soon as well. Faces in the Water is more of inside the mental institution in the 60s in New Zealand. And a lot of that is kind of semi-autobiographical as well. She's kind of the main character, and then, other characters are sort of there based on, characters that she met, people that she met over the course of, I think, 13 years that she was in and out of mental institutions. So those are the two I would recommend starting with and then going from there. But this is a good book, and I would recommend it, but I would start with the other two first. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. 4.5 stars again on Goodreads out of 5. And again, if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe. It helps me out. It makes me know that it lets me know that you're interested in seeing more views on books and literature. Because I will be covering everything from lit to philosophy to religion to psychology to fantasy, everything. So it lets me know that you're interested by subscribing and liking the video. Also press the notification button. That way you'll know when new videos are updated, and that way you can watch them, which is cool, kind of, I guess. Anyway, Also, leave comments below. If you've read this book, let me know what you think of it. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, leave your Goodreads name down below. That way I can add you and we can see what each other is reading. And I'd love to be able to get some suggestions, and you can leave book suggestions down below as well. So with that, I will say goodbye, and we'll see you on the next video. And as always, keep YouTube literate.